So I didn't vote for Trump, but I'm beginning to wish I did, because in the last 5 or so days, he bombed Iran, destroyed their nuclear capabilities, brokered a peace deal, and said on CNN.
So you got people who admittedly did not vote for Trump that are now saying, man, I kind of wish I did vote for that guy. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But on today's show, the winning continues because even CNN is reporting now that, all of that bad press that, mainstream media was running, well, it ain't working because Trump is making history. Yeah, absolutely making history. But then on top of that, not only that, but you remember the doom and gloom that, mainstream media was spewing about all the tariffs? Yeah, we got some good news coming on that too, as well as some other things that we'll get into later on in the video. So with that being said, let's jump into this historic news broken by CNN. Now let's dive in.
I mean, every politician would like this number here, especially to see it go up. How about compared to other presidents who were Republicans?
Yeah, it's history making. It's history making. What are we talking about here? So why don't we look back? We have all the presidents, Republican presidents, going back over the last 35, 36, 37 years. What are we talking about? GOP, who strongly approved 5 months in. Look at this. George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, 46%. Bush 43, 59. You see Trump, the first term, 53. But look at this. 63%. He beats all the other Republicans on the board here. And I was looking even back since Reagan. And get this, Donald Trump beats Ronald Reagan when it comes to the strongly approved 5 months. And of course, Reagan was coming off that high after that assassination attempt. So the bottom line is Donald Trump is making history with the Republican base. He is more beloved by this Republican base than any Republican base loved any GOP president 5 months in.
I mean,
Historic, right? Trump making history. And, it's coming at a time where it is nonstop Trump bad, big, beautiful bill, absolutely horrible. It's the next coming of Nazis themselves. That's what Trump is trying to bring to America. All this doom and gloom. And yet Trump is making history, absolutely making history. But remember the doom and gloom that they used to spread about the tariffs? Well, there's good news about that, too.
It looks like the tariffs don't work crowd owes President Trump a big apology. Tariff revenue just smashed records, $15.9 billion collected so far this month alone. The White House says it's close to a trade deal, but in the meantime, the money is starting to roll in.
Interesting. And check out this lady on CNBC who looks absolutely shocked reporting on these numbers.
Look how much we've been collecting in revenues. And I did this in part because Wilfred's here and he can talk about the UK trade deal. But just this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly a lot, especially we haven't seen it in terms of the consumer paying off higher inflation.
The costs are going to just go to the consumers and tariffs are going to be horrible. Meanwhile, we're collecting over $120 billion in revenue from tariffs. Man, the good news just keeps on rolling in, baby, and I'm loving it. Eating all these W's, man. I'm already a little chubby. We're gonna have to slow down a little bit. I'm gonna have to hit the gym again. All right, man, this is getting crazy. But even outside of that, Trump is still collecting W's. Remember the CBS debacle where they changed the interview for Kamala to make her sound and seem better than what she actually was? Well, they bent the knee too.
That we haven't mentioned yet, and that is that CBS News agreed to pay a settlement to President Trump after this. This is from Paramount Global, right? Then they have a merger that they want to get through in front of the federal government. might have led to this settlement. It says that the company has agreed that in the future, 60 Minutes will release transcripts of interviews with eligible U.S. presidential candidates after such interviews have aired, subject to redactions as required for legal or national security concerns, because this had to deal with Kamala Harris's interview with 60 Minutes and if they edited it. Okay, so here's what aired.
Well, let's start with October 7. 1,200 people were massacred. 250 hostages were taken, including Americans. Women were brutally raped. And as I said then, I maintain Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. This war has to end.
And Trump and his team said, 60 Minutes by editing put his thumb on the scale right before the election.
Yeah, and the fact that the only reason any of this happened, much like with the University of Pennsylvania decision, the only reason any of this happened is because President Trump was willing to go and pick a fight that few Republicans ever want to get into. And he has fought with the media every step of the way. He's not afraid of it. And this was the result of it. And I love the fact that that new rule, the new rule with CBS, where they release the full unedited transcripts, is called within the building the Trump rule. And that will live on long after Trump is gone. And just a reminder of, the guy is unafraid to take on any entity that is in his way, and it winds up paying off. And it turns out that you actually can go up against the system and actually put up some wins like this.
Well, initially it's 16 million. It could go much higher. It could go as high as 30 million. It's a stunner.
Yep. Initially 16 million. And as you heard there, could be double that. 30 million bucks almost. It could be. Or I guess I should say it could be 30 million bucks that they're going to fork over to Uncle Trump. Ain't that wonderful? Ain't that a beautiful thing? I absolutely love it. Of course, the liberals and the left, they're absolutely losing their minds over it. But hey, when you F around, eventually you're going to find out. But there's more great news in terms of the economy. And let's dive into that a little bit here, shall we? Check it out.
You expected some of this, but this is better than expected?
Yeah, Sarah, it is. Look, this jobs market is like the Energizer Bunny. Every single time we expect it to run out of steam, it just keeps going and going. So these new numbers show that the U.S. economy added 147,000 jobs in June. That was well ahead of the expectation of about 118,000, well ahead of some whispers that we heard on Wall Street of a sub 100,000 number. So this is indeed beating expectations. We were also expecting a slowdown. We did not get that. This is basically in line with May, which was revised higher. It's also good news. The unemployment rate was expected to go up. It didn't. It went down to 4.1%. That is a very healthy number. This is still relatively historically low. And again, it's below the 4.3% that we had expected. When we look at the trend in the jobs market, you can see that things have slowed down from last year, but not in an alarming fashion, right? We did expect to have weaker numbers here in the last few months. And so really things are holding up a lot better than feared. The unemployment rate, again, it's nowhere near where it was a few years ago. It does remain, look at this, the unemployment rate, it's still hovering at very low levels. Now, digging into where the jobs are, we did see significant job gains for healthcare and social assistance, adding 59,000. Leisure and hospitality, that's bars, restaurants, 20,000. But there was job loss in two notable areas. Manufacturing, 7,000 jobs lost last month alone. That's the exact opposite of what the president wants with his high tariff strategy. The federal government losing 7,000, and that is, of course, a result of DOGE really taking an axe to the federal workforce. But still, big picture, when you put it all together, this is a lot better than expected, and it does suggest that this jobs market is holding up better than feared.
Yeah, barring the manufacturing, President Trump has something to crow about. He has something to talk about because it is a lot better than we're talking, 30,000 more jobs than expected,
right, and not the slowdown that was predicted.
Yeah, all right.
Not the slowdown that was predicted. In the manufacturing jobs, I'm not too worried about that. Those will tick up as time goes on, obviously, as more and more manufacturers come back to America and start ramping production back up on American soil. So I'm not concerned about that at all. Now, it was interesting how not long ago it was all doom and gloom. Oh my goodness, but now, and even still, like you just heard, we expected the numbers to drop down, and even some economists, I think he said, were expecting it to be below 100,000. Like, come on, bro, this Uncle Trump we talking about. you think he gonna drop the ball? Nah. His livelihood, and I truly believe this, his livelihood is on the line if he drops the ball. If Uncle Trump fails, his life is put back on the line. Because if he fails, Democrats go right back in office, and they're going to keep doing the same things that they always been doing. If they go right back into the if they win in 2028 and win in the midterms in 26, they're going to go right back to the same shenanigans. Trump knows that. We all know that. That's obvious. We can see that from a mile away. So you think he's really going to drop the ball? Absolutely not. He is doing anything and everything he possibly can to make sure that America is great again. That's facts. That's facts. And like I said, we all know the ramifications if he doesn't. It's not just dirt being thrown on his name, but it's possibly him being thrown in prison. Just saying. Scott Jennings, take it away, baby.
And he knows that the lower courts cannot carte blanche stop him, which hugely increases the power of the executive.
Yeah, look, this is a great week for him, not just because of this ruling, but earlier in the week, the Supreme Court handed him the ruling on being able to deport illegal immigrants to third-party countries, essentially. So he's on a little bit of a winning streak in the courts right now. And what a lot of Republicans are saying is, nope, we're not tired of winning yet. This happened. The stock market's at a record high. He brokered the ceasefire in the 12-day war. Peace broke out between Rwanda and the Congo. I mean, gas prices are at a 4-year low for the summer. I mean, win after win after win. And this particular one is the most important because these individual judges had been, I think, unfairly stopping the president from governing. He won the election. They didn't. We don't have 600 presidents. We have one president. And now he's going to be able to actually govern. And so you could make an argument that this week or the last 2 weeks, the best week or 2 weeks of his entire presidency.
Facts. I mean, really, this past month, it's been nothing but straight W's. Nothing but W's. And we haven't even talked about Mark Carney bending the knee, right? The Prime Minister of Canada, the guy who they were all saying was the Trump whisperer, the master negotiator against Trump. He ended up bending the knee, as expected, right? I mean, it's time after time after time after time again, Trump is proving these folks wrong. Time after time again. And I don't know what it's going to take for these people to finally wake up and realize, all right, our shenanigans aren't working. Trump is actually a great president. Let's just get behind him and support him because this is just making us look foolish. Like, I don't know. Like, do you guys ever think they're going to snap out of it? Y'all let me know in the comments, man, but it's crazy. It's honestly making the Democrat Party worse, which I guess I shouldn't be complaining about too much, right? But I think ultimately having two parties in America is a great thing. So I guess that's why I am complaining about it, because having two parties is a good thing. Having two parties that are competing, I think, only makes America better, because the Republican Party, once Trump is gone, you can't slip, because Democrats are right here trying to make America great too. So, they're pushing up. So nope, Republicans, you gotta up your game. You know what I mean? So I feel like having both parties be good parties is a great thing, but Democrats are just continuing to tank themselves, and I guess Republicans are going to be on a winning streak for quite a while now. Anyway, y'all get in the comments and let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this. I know I missed some other W's as well. You heard Scott Jennings talk about the gas prices. We could talk about the stock market hitting record highs, and plus more peace deals with Rwanda, tariff deals, being done. There's W's all over the place that we could dive into and talk about. But we're not going to dive into everything, but I just wanted to show you guys some of these W's that have recently been happening, because it is a wonderful thing. And, it's funny when people ask, are you happy with what you voted for? Absolutely. I think I can speak for us all and say we all are happy with who we voted for. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.